Hi, Kian. This is Umair. I'm the founder and CEO of Tkxel and also host some shows for the Better Tech. The Better Tech platform is all about talking to CTOs, CEOs of startups, understanding what their story, what their product is, getting some lessons from them, and also talking about some of the stuff that is happening in the world right now, remote jobs, skills that are needed, and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for being a guest on our show, and I welcome. So why don't you take initial few minutes and give us a little bit about your introduction?
Yeah, no, thank you, Umair. Very excited to be here. I'm Kian, as you said. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Workera. We are a skills intelligence platform. I'm also a lecturer in the Department of Computer Science at Stanford University, where my focus is on neural network, deep learning. Prior to Workera, I was working closely with Andrew Ng, one of the figures in artificial intelligence. Together, we worked on deeplearning.ai, a company that was meant to democratize access to AI education. We've taught between the two of us AI to over 3 million people around the globe. And I've been passionate about education, talent since a long time ago. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you and to
Wonderful.
delve in.
It's interesting that you mentioned Stanford. So I actually also taught at some universities around the globe, and since originally from Pakistan, so I've taught at some of the universities over here, and we tend to match I typically tend to match a lot of my courses with corresponding Stanford's courses. So I also did my CS and taught at a university like yourself, and then founded a company. So good, I guess good synergies over there. So tell us a little bit more about Workera. What is that?
Workera is a skills intelligence platform. So let me break it down for you. What it means is we help enterprises and their workforce understand their talent, develop it, and mobilize it. So run it effectively. The way it works is essentially we make skills visible to the people in the enterprise. And then once you have a skills data, you can start powering all sorts of talent applications, generating personalized learning plans based on skills data for every employee, matching people to projects, matching people to mentors, starting to hire people on a skills signal that matches the needs of the organization. So we are really the skills layer. We have this adaptive testing technology and a skills ontology technology that allow us to measure people at what we call the atomic level, very precise level, and then help them grow their careers, essentially.
So let me just rephrase that. I mean, you kind of replaced the old Excel sheet where I would put my 500 engineers and write in front of them that what skills they are trained in. Is this what it is?
Roughly. So what you would do, you would say, hey, at Tkxel, we have these strategic initiatives, we have these projects, and you map those to skills. You say, these are the skills that I want everybody to have. And you can even split it per organization. You would say, these 100 people, I want to develop these skills. And those people, I want to develop a different set of skills. What we do is we provide adaptive testing to all your people.
You mentioned that you find out also the skills and the people. So I mean, how it works. Let's say I'm very curious about that because you and I both kind of share the academic backgrounds that we kind of teach. So sometimes there are skills that people tell us about, but there are skills which they don't tell us about. So do you have a way of finding out, I mean, what skills they do really possess and how it works? So let's say I may have several skills. I may have coding skills, and then some particular areas I may have system design skills. Then I have maybe some leadership and entrepreneurial skills at the same times. So how would I tell this to your system, and or how your system will figure that out? Now that's part one of it. Now, assuming there's a large enough data on all the employees, and then there comes so do you write the I mean, is it you said your website is workera.ai. So then you kind of intelligently match it. I mean, let's get into a little bit more detail about that.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of good stuff in what you mentioned. But so where to start? The first thing is we want to provide data to the people that is useful for their careers. So machine learning or software engineering or systems design, as you mentioned, would be called skills by many platforms. On LinkedIn, you can go on my profile and say, hey, Kian, you're good at machine learning. I recommend you. Right. Nobody really cares at the end of the day. Right. It's not granular enough. You cannot match someone to a project because they said they're good at machine learning or someone else said they're good at machine learning. So the first step is to break down these domains into subdomains, into topics, into skills. So for example, software engineering may be hundreds of skills, actually. Systems design may be many, many skills. So that's the first step. And then you want to measure people at the skill level to provide them useful data. But you cannot really spend, if you want to measure 1,000 skills, you will need to spend 100 hours with people. It doesn't make sense. You're not going to get it. And so this is where the algorithms come in and the data comes in. We've spent years measuring people across the globe and understanding a skills graph. Imagine a skills graph where each skill is connected to other skills. We identify the conditional probabilities between skills. We understand how having a certain skills tells us about other skills around it. And now we are able to ask a few questions and update our knowledge about someone on the graph to provide rich information to them. So imagine I ask you 10 questions and I can provide you predictions across maybe 50 skills, maybe more. And this is what allows us to provide value, really, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you'll be essentially giving me a kind of a test or something, or a questionnaire, which I can potentially fill, and you can use that answer to break down my skill into a lot more atomic level. And then based on that, you can guide me put me on a learning path and so on and so forth, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, is this platform around just tech only, or I can use it for sales, for leadership, for entrepreneurship, everything as well?
Yeah, a good question. Today we are focused on technology.
My question came out just before this podcast. I was trying to create a roadmap for my sales team, and while sometimes the technology seems very natural to me, the sales I mean I learned it for like 5, 6, 7 years to do it myself, but still I sometimes struggle. I haven't learned it in a structured way, the way I've learned computer science. So I still do it by more like common sense. So I mean, can you do this for me, that I let you interview my or give questionnaire to my, let's say, 30, 40 salespeople, and then you can, from that, you can figure out what they are lacking or they are good at, and then put them on some learning path?
Yeah. We started the company focused on tech skills, and then we expanded to everyone in the enterprise. So today you have all tech skills for technical and non-technical people as well. And then for sales, as an example, today we don't have a sales assessment domain in our catalog, but we have the capacity to build it very rapidly with our customers. So for example, you would go in and I would ask you, what's your sales methodology? Do you embrace a challenger sale, medpick? Do you embrace other approaches? Do you want to teach your team prospecting? Do you want to teach them about closing? Do you want to teach them about contracting? We would break it down into individual skills, and then we would write psychometrically verified measurements and give them to you so that you can provide them to your team. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. That sounds interesting. So once you have given us the kind of the path, does the Workera also provide the learning and courses like some of the education systems out there, Coursera, Udemy maybe? So do you have that part as well covered?
So I've spent myself years in content, on the content side, teaching on Coursera, teaching at Stanford. And I I thought that the world doesn't need another content provider. Right. So the decision that I made for Workera is we are not getting into content. We are agnostic of content. Instead, we are really the mentorship layer and the measurement layer on top of content. We have integrations with Coursera, with LinkedIn Learning, with other platforms, and whatever you're using, we just indexed it. And we predict what learning plan is the most useful to the user, regardless of the provider. We also have this indexing of free content, because a lot of people actually, they're looking for bite-sized quick lessons that they can learn on a daily basis. And we have all that indexed on Workera. So for every skill we identify in your gap, there's also a free option. Here is the video that will teach it to you in the most effective way in 20 minutes.
So one of the things that I've noticed on the web is not the lack of content, it's actually the excess of it. Most of the time, let's say if I want to study today on AI machine learning, there will be tons and tons and tons of material available out there. I'll just probably struggle to start somewhere. Right. And sometimes curation instead of creation is a lot more important. That what is the right material to start? So, do you guys have a curation mechanism that, you said that you integrate with a lot of platforms, but you have identified some gap in my skills and you're putting me on a path to that. But how would you figure out that Coursera may have the best path to fulfill that knowledge, or they may have the best knowledge? Do you have some curation mechanism, or it's just that you just put people on certain platforms?
Yeah. That's a great question. So imagine you have bought for your team Coursera, just as an example, and maybe another one, maybe Udemy. Yeah. First, you can configure our platform to focus on these two catalogs. Plus free content. So now we have a catalog that we're working with. If I want to make a recommendation for you, it's going to be based on how relevant will it be for you, and what's the quality of the content. These are two of the very important parameters that we need to work with. The relevance means now that I know your skills at a granular level, and I know the skills covered in that course, I can provide a relevant score. I know that in this course, you will have 7 skills that you don't have and you need to have according to your manager that are covered. But I also know that there are 10 other skills that are covered in the course that you already have. And so I'm telling you, the course may be a waste of time. Maybe 40% of the course is not interesting to you, and point you to the right places in the course. So that's one thing. Then the quality is a lot of metadata. You have reputation of the instructor, you have quality of the content, you have complexity of the vocabulary being used, and you also have how much prerequisite is needed in order to get that course. You take all of that together, and then it gives you a proper recommendation that would be useful for you.
Okay. And so a lot of time, I've seen that you can get this gap analysis done. People just know that sometimes they know they have a skill gap. It's totally another story to really excite them and motivate them to really go through the courses and do that. So do you have any kind of silver bullet on that as well? You can imagine most of this stuff is now available. I tend to tell my students rather that I used to buy tons and tons of books and have to go through them, each one of them, to really understand a concept back in those days. But now if somebody doesn't understand what it is and they don't make an effort, it's kind of nearly, it's their own fault. But still, people are not ready to invest time in skill building. So any solutions for that, and what's your experience around that?
Yeah, I'd say assessments have been around for thousands of years, used in pass-fail situation. Get in the school, don't get in the school. Get the job, don't get the job. They make people stressed. Nobody wants to take an assessment and feel judged, right? As you said. But it's changing very rapidly. It's changing for what reason? First, assessments such as the ones we build are formative. They're not summative. They're not meant to judge you. They're meant to help you. And then there's a lot of exciting opportunities that open up upon the completion of an assessment on Workera. So companies set up projects that are only accessible to people who have a skills profile. They have a reward and recognition plan that is tied to their scores or to the skills that they demonstrate. They also get the opportunity to be matched to a mentor in an area that they have a gap for, and that's exciting to the employees. They also get to become a mentor if they demonstrate a certain level of capability in a domain. These are all small details, but at the end of the day, it's all about showing the value of having a skills profile, showing the value of demonstrating a certain score. There's other things that the leaders that we work with do and works very well is, you are the CEO of a very successful company. You want to show that you're a lifelong learner. You want to show that you test yourself. You have a gap. You want to show that you're humble and that you have a score. And that
vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. That creates so much enthusiasm from the teams. Like, our leaders are doing it. We're all in it together. This is the benchmark of like the top technology companies. This is how much literacy they have in digital, in technology, in data science. And this is where we are as a company. Let's get there all together. And that creates also a huge momentum. It's like almost gamification or healthy competitiveness.
Mm-hmm. So how do you help enterprises or organizations measure the kind of ROI they can get by improving skills? I mean, we all know that joke that where a CFO asks a CEO that, what if we train them and they leave? And the CEO asks, what if we don't train them and they stay? So I mean, that is that is kind of given. But how would you help a company understand that what kind of an ROI they're getting out of the skills program, and what's your experience in that?
Yeah, I would say two things. Like, there is retention and there is innovation. Both are top of mind for CEOs now. Both are top of mind, and they're very connected, as you said, because if you cannot retain a team, or if managers are not confident that this team will be here, how do you want to innovate? You cannot really plan ahead if you don't have the commitment from your team and if you don't provide them a career commitment. So these two concepts are very related. CEOs want to retain people, and people during the Great Resignation, which is basically now, are leaving companies 30% more than before. Half of them roughly say that they're leaving because their manager or the leader was not invested in their career. So that's top of mind. You need to invest in the career of your workforce. That's one of the ROI. How many are leaving? How many are retained? The second part is innovation. You have projects, you have strategic initiatives, and you want to measure this progress at that level. Obviously, it's not doable with today's technology to measure exactly the project and have a complete view of what's happening. It's just not doable. But what you can do nowadays with a platform like Workera is you look at your strategic initiatives, you uncover with an ontology, what are the top skills that matter for all of these initiatives and all these projects? You define them. And now you're one level down, and we help you measure those skills. And so this is the second level of ROI, is we set a target for the next 2 years. How quickly are we progressing to that target? Because the platform is a continuous measurement platform, it's not a one-off thing. You measure, then an employee is on a personalized learning plan, and then every month or every 2 months or every 3 months, they're going to be measured with new questions that adapt to their new level. So the dashboard is constantly improving, is constantly growing, showing you at what pace you're growing. One of the top metrics that leaders are looking at is learning velocity. It's not just where are we, what's our gap, it's how fast are we closing it. And so that's also a type of ROI metric. Yeah.
Understandable. And obviously, while the employer is looking at a lot of these ROI matrices, the employees are also themselves looking at some of these ROI matrices, and they can see that the organization is investing in them, so they would likely stay and get benefited. No, wonderful. So tell us a little bit more about Workera's progress so far since your initial days funding, and what's your plan in the next year or so, how you are getting traction and
Yeah. Workera is now over 60 people across close to 30 countries. We are remote first company, very distributed. We have raised over $21 million to date across 3 rounds of funding. We work closely with investors such as NEA, Owl Ventures, the largest education technology investor in the world, and the AI fund from Andrew Ng. We have grown very fast over the last couple of years and are looking ahead at continuing to grow. One of the things that excites us the most is once you have skills data in the enterprise and you're using it for upskilling people, helping them with their career, it's just the beginning of the story. Because with that skills data, you can do a lot more. You can really run the organization with what we call a talent operating system. It's almost like every talent strategy becomes data-driven. You are coupling hiring with upskilling. You are coupling project matching with upskilling, with hiring. All of that makes most sense. That's what we're looking at for the years ahead, is to closing that gap with all sorts of talent strategies on top of our platform.
And last question before I close it, that you mentioned a few times enterprises. So is this largely working for an enterprise because they have a lot of data, or at what point Workera starts becoming viable for an organization?
Yeah, we are serving enterprises because they have strategic initiatives. As I said, they want to help their people as much as possible and have access to the skills. We also have a freemium for anyone online who wants to test. They get access to certain domains of the platform, so that's available as well. And as we're looking ahead, we're looking to continuing to grow into the enterprise, large organization. Usually, typically, any organization that has thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people would be a good fit for Workera. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does, and I understand that you guys are working on truly something which is great. There's a content available out there. There are people, so you're matching content to people and giving them a path to flourish. So that's a wonderful area to be in. And given I also have a background in teaching as you do, so I can appreciate that a lot. I'm kind of a big proponent in my company that everybody has to learn. Probably I'm the guy who shares the most articles every courses in the company. And I really literally believe that it needs to come from the top, the whole culture. And that's the only way you can progress. If you're not investing in yourself, you're not adding knowledge, then, you're just doing the same thing again and again, and there's a limit to it. Unless until you have to add value into yourself. And if you're not upgrading yourself through skills, you're really not adding value. So I totally, I'm with you when you say that people have to upgrade their skills. And I think if this platform is helping them really upgrading their skills, you're in a wonderful space, which I really admire. So again, thank you very much for being with us on the show today. I think we have an interesting discussion. We get to know the wonderful platform that you're building, and hopefully we will use it ourselves as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Umair. It was a pleasure to chat and have a good rest of your week.